Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 99 of Mini Truckin Magazine. It's March 2000. And we appreciate all the support. If you can, please consider subscribing. Go back and watch. We have all the playlists set up for these different videos from 88 all the way to current. We're going to continue through all 269 issues. This is Sean Mahaney, rest in peace. The OG, the legend. This is Sean Mahaney's 77 Hilux. Wes Allisoin's 19th cover that he's credited for Mini Truckin Magazine. This is the number 3 of 4 trucks that are featured on the cover with stock wheels. So we haven't ever broke that down. This is the 5th oldest truck on the cover. So there was a 64, a 73, a 75, a 76, and 2 77s. This Hilux and the other, you may ask, May 93 cover. That's the one that kind of has 2 trucks on it. There's one in the background that has the Santini windshield logo and the Datsun frame. So this is, again, the 5th oldest cover in terms of year, cover truck, rather. There's 7 features, some good under construction zone, rather. And speaking of that, check this out. Constructoin Zone Special. One of the most beautiful models on the cover, Brandy Devine. Looking great next to the Hilux. You could almost spin and say that this truck started some trends to a certain extent. Patina, don't know that it was necessarily a thing at that point, but this truck's definitely kind of that flat color, so to speak. Maybe not patina, but again, flat paint, something totally different. And then, of course, it has the steely wheels on it with the hubcaps. Now, I do have my personal issue of this one. This one comes from my collection. My buddy Paul gave me this issue back in the day. And I do have the Sean Mahaney pin that Donna had provided to me. Rest in peace again, Sean Mahaney. He's no longer with us. A couple more things. We did talk to Rob Maggi, our first episode of the year, and we talked about, of course, Sean was working at MIC at this point. And this background in one of the areas, they were able to move that around. So very similar to seeing the orange truck Tangerine Dream on the cover. But very cool, some cool like under lighting here that they did to kind of give it a little bit of flavor and just something totally different. I think it's pretty awesome. So without further ado, let's jump in right here. You can see plenty of features, tech, events, East Coast Nats, and 99 import Nats. A little bit of insight here where we see MIC, Sean Mahaney, Brandy Devine, Dodge's Sean's Welding Sparks. And then, of course, you got a couple of shows, including Southeast Mini Truck Nats, also known as Mini Nats. This is a really, really good issue. There's a lot of good stuff in it. And again, I would ask that if you have an opportunity, please consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. Here is what's wrong with primer. So Lance Mart's editorial looks a little bit different. You're starting to see more color in the magazine. And I will pause this, or I will kind of go over it in case you need to pause it. Right here on page 6, we have Mini Truckin Masters of Fab. So it kind of gives a nod to Sean Mahaney. There's another photo there. And it talks about, you know, him building a lot of people's vehicles that came to their attention. Sean had never had a vehicle of his own featured. So kind of giving a nod to Sean, and rightfully so. You know, he had built a lot of cool stuff, and it's crazy that Sean's no longer with us. Rest in peace, man. Lucky Pup. So this was a truck out of Houston, Jerry Kennedy, and Isuzu Pup. Really clean truck. Of course, got the nice Phantom grille on it. Clean engine bay. And just what the doctor ordered. If you like what we're doing here, search OLP via most podcast apps and consider subscribing there. We do a lot of content. We've had a lot of good guests. As I mentioned, Rob Maggi recently sat down. He owned Master Image Customs. Steve Platt, that owned and built, at the time, the Steel Flame Hot Wheels mini truck. So, a lot of stuff going on. So here you go. MIC shows us how to create a cantilever concoction. Some of you will remember this truck. Maybe this was the truck Rob Maggi was talking about that flipped. And, you know, when cantilevers, when guys started doing those, I mean, it was nuts to see all of the lift that those trucks were getting. So you got the Tech, of course. I don't spend a lot of time on those, but again, you can pause it if you need to. Low standards. So this was Mike Malion, I think it is Malon, of East Greenville, Pennsylvania. Real clean Ford Splash, I believe it was. Ranger. Remember all the in that era, it was like mid-90s, I guess, a lot of yellow you would see in those ads and whatnot. Here's 99 import Nats. So as we saw, if you've been watching these, Mini Truckin did not abandon, you know, covering these import events. They would have been obviously important for them, especially with sport compacts and minis, as we know, which was added to the cover. You can see here, June 27, 1999, Bob Hayes of Motorsport Promotions. Bob still doing the damn thing. He's leading the effort with the Mini Truck Hall of Fame and longtime Sunset member. Here you go. Check that out. Okay, here's East Coast Nats. And ironically enough, I spoke with Fred yesterday. Fred's going to be on the podcast soon. So depending on when you're watching this, we will, of course, go over with that owner, the Isuzu Amigo. There's the famous Splash with the Nietzsche Bond wheels, I believe they are. Leave a comment if you see stuff, if you see particular individuals or people on show coverage, or if you have behind-the-scenes feature photos and you want to send them for us to kind of add to our database, you can hit us up, ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com. Here is the Construction Zone feature, and you get a little bit better view here without the shipping label on it. Wes Allisoin, and it does say and Mini Truckin staff right here. So if you pick up on that, what I'd have to do is verify with someone that was there and say, well, who was the Mini Truckin staff? Was it, you know, possibly Courtney Halliwell? You know, did they shoot this during Courtney's time before he had left? You know, certainly possible. But as Mike Self had said, and as we kind of assumed over the course of time, anytime it said and Mini Truckin staff, that was generally someone that had left the publication and they didn't want to necessarily put their name in there for whatever reason. There's a good photo there, truck in the same spot, but Sean standing next to it, looking OG. And you can see in the back some of the artwork, including this right here, MIC. Van Diemen, I'm guessing, drew some of this or painted some of it, if not all of it. But not many under construction vehicles on the cover over the course of time, but certainly an important thing for our truck scene because of the fact that under construction was a huge, you know, point of the magazine over the course of time. Sean Mahaney, there you see the 77 Hilux to 20 RD, and where it says miscellaneous stock Steely wheels. So that's kind of where we get the stock from. Now, were they stock for this truck? I don't necessarily know, but you get the point. Pretty cool stuff. Very rare truck, I think, by today's standards. Very cool look. And again, really could have, I mean, really set some trends, if you will. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, sure, there were hot rod guys, I'm sure, with flat black paint. I mean, don't get me wrong, but a little ahead of its time with this cover. Those that were kind of behind it, you know, Lance, of course, wrote it. And again, Wes would have shot this with potentially someone else. Now, it is worth noting, too, for my calculation, all of the covers that Wes had shot, he had the sole credit up until this point, at least from what we see here. And this is the official credit that we go by. But interesting to know maybe who was with him at that point. Maybe Wes, maybe we can get confirmation from him. And maybe they put that in there in error. I mean, that's always possible. But again, Sean's 77 Hilux, 19th cover for Wes Allisoin for Mini Truckin. Stock wheels, 5th oldest truck. So 2-page feature, but pretty cool. Here you can see Rodney Little, Daniel Payne. See the Bio Customs there. We've had Max Fish on a couple times. Shout out to Max. Keith Thompson. This is one that we saw a couple of times, including, this just came back to me, the Unibagger. This had one airbag on the back, and you can see a little bit different there, but Keith Thompson's Unibagger, I think it was kind of known as. Always loved those wheels. I want to say were they the Zeniths? The Zeniths, something like that. Yeah, right there, I'm looking there, Zenith aluminum wheels. And then Timothy. Okay, so I got to get with Tim. All right. He's been on the list. I talked to him at Mini Nats last year. This was Red Dog. You could see there, Timothy, Barrier from Subculture, Red Dog. This is the famous truck. This thing had some insane mods, and I got to get with Tim. I had a great conversation with him at Mini Nats last year. So rest assured, we'll get him on. Here is a 90 Isuzu, and when I first saw this, I thought it was radars, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not radars. He didn't have a front tilt hood. But you could see here, how ironic was this? They must not have had the person's name, or they didn't put it there, because I don't see it there at the top, at least, or maybe it was a typo. And then Eric Cryan. This was shot in November 99. Okay, I was there. I have a couple photos of this truck. Some of you probably do as well. This truck went on to be known, based upon its tag, as 99N Dragon. DRGN, so 99N Dragon. So shout out to Eric Cryan, longtime mini trucker in Florida. Always loved juice on his rides, and this thing was just totally sick with the inky wheels. And we got a chance to see that thing firsthand. Of course, it would come back, and February of 2000, we saw it in South Florida when it was copper. And then there's some cool history behind this one where it actually got a little bit of damage sustained, which led to the graphics. And I'd love to get Eric on at some point to talk about the history of it. This truck did sell recently. If I remember correctly, I think he sold both of them. I never thought he would, but super nice truck. And shout out to Eric Cryan, longtime Florida mini trucker. Hopefully we can link up with him in the future. Longtime ad that ran here, U.S. Auto Parts, Mini Market. Shout out to the Viper Wheel Appreciation Instagram. The homie gives us credit all the time, and we certainly appreciate you watching these. But check out, if you dig as much as he does or we do, Viper Appreciation. Just type that in. I'm sure it'll come up. I think it's like Viper Appreciation or Viper Wheels Appreciation. Very cool. And he's kind of cataloging, a lot of old school trucks that had the Viper wheels on it. So this thing was awesome. Sean Logan of San Marcos, Cali. And it kind of has that hot rod vibe to it. This is one that I don't even think I brought up with Brian Gendro. You can see the chop shop there. Totally insane. Really badass Toyota. Pete Finland of Hot Dog Designs. He chimes in on our posts here and there. Great guy, amazing painter. He laid this down, if I remember correctly. And I did see Pete's name right here. So again, I'll kind of give you the overview. You can bump this to 4K, as I've said in the past, if you need to pull content from it. Certainly appreciate it if you credit us, but that's why we do it. These there's no point of me keeping these in a binder that nobody can really kind of enjoy or see. And at least many of you will often ask, like, hey, my dad's truck was in such and such. I know it was 1989 or whatever. By going through every single page of these, people are able to go back and find their stuff. And, if you're looking to buy an issue, then you can, buy the issue. And speaking of, those are Vipers, right? Mosbury Delight. And that was after some of the changes. Of course, you can see it has a topper there. Devin from Canada. He's been on the podcast. I think Ruben lined us up on that one. So this truck, God, man, I almost forgot about this one. Jeremy Coball, Couball. This was minty fresh. And if you think back to Crazy Customs, showing fools what time it is, that was their little motto. And there's a Tacoma. These things were starting to kind of really become hot. We saw, obviously, in the construction zone with Eric Cryans. But pretty awesome. Check out that grill. That grill reminds me of what was on Heather and Joey's. I said Heather and Joey's. Well, Heather's Tacoma. Really, really clean truck. But, yep. It's crazy, man. I didn't look at this one at all before I started. And good times. You got some of the under construction, or excuse me, reader's rides. And we have Back to the Forge, Southeast Mini Truck and Nats in Pigeon Forge. Without these magazines, we wouldn't be able to see a lot of the show coverage because, again, it was, you know, sure, at this point, there was a little bit online. Some of these trucks were at so many different shows, including this one, which we'll see more of. Of course, the Tacoma, or excuse me, the Toyota pickup. Here you got hot off the presses. You got the Air Syndicate stuff. And this was after Brandt had acquired the Tacoma. Really, as we said, could have been a cover truck. Should have been a cover truck, rather. And Dan, I believe is his name. Dan, I got to link up with him. We've been talking about having him on. Topless Tees. So this is the truck that I got a chance to see at Nopi. And our friend was going to potentially buy this. And there was some weird story that kind of came up when he went to get it. But this was a very, very cool truck. Had the, I believe it was a Colorado custom steering wheel. And you can see this little area. This is where I always assumed this was Nopi for some reason, but I think this was the same cover as the January 2000, that same spot where they shot the cover with all the different rides. So boom. Here you go, Mini Laughter. We're starting to see more color pages. Of course, not 100% in color. You can see here. Remember when the Blair Witch Project came out? That was kind of went viral before viral was a thing. What's in the CD changer? And look at that, Steve. Proud member of Severed Ties. Steve. Cantilever Concoction Part 2. Alter Images ad down here. St. Louis Spice, a Dash of Class. This was John Thrall. Kind of a little bit different of a Sonoma / S-10. Colorado Custom Wheel, again, those things were super popular. But with the ground effects, you know, kind of getting into, you know, the 2000s. Maybe wasn't as big, but certainly a real clean truck deserving of a feature. I dig it. I'd cruise it now. All shaved up, real clean paint. I dig it. Get some ads at the bottom. Here was Follow the Leader again. And Lance shot this one. You could see the same little area where they would have shot that with the brick wall. Brett Habig. Here you could see in the background, Mini Truck and Advertising, you can see where they use that. Some of the trucks in the background, which is always cool to kind of see what they did. Mikey likes it. So Mike Self, again, he chimed in recently. Thanks, Mike. Been in the automotive magazine industry a long time. Lower profile tag. Negative clearance. Again, Lance's kind of creation, my understanding, right around the time he came in. You see Immaculate Collection. So cool stuff there. So we definitely appreciate all the support, man. We really do. Thank you guys for always coming back here, watching, streaming these all the way through. It helps us a lot. We're at the verge of monetization. And that's going to help just motivate us to continue. And I say us, motivate me to continue bringing you content. I've got a lot of ideas in store, some things I'm working on, and certainly appreciate it. But this is issue 99. Mini Truckin Magazine. Rest in peace, Sean Mahaney. Again, thanks, Donna, for the pin. And we certainly missed the OG. He was a great guy. We had him on. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. Search Sean Mahaney, OLP. Stand the rise, y'all. We at ya. I'm going to go ahead and flash to subscribe right now. You know what I'm saying?